So good evening. We are really excited to wrap up the Community Talk series with a fascinating conversation about how to build your professional network via the LinkedIn platform. So making yourself stand out is a challenge that we all face. And how do you best write about your experience? How do you sound unique? How do you do this in a few words? How do you connect with potential employers and college representatives? So we are thrilled to have someone here who can answer these questions and to help you create an impactful statement that describes your experience with your experience and your accomplishments with our future in science. So I am so pleased to introduce Chris Green to you all. Chris has an amazing career that started with Fiat Chrysler Automobiles, where he held multiple positions within their supply chain organization over an 8-year period. He made a pivot in his career in 2018 to become a relationship manager at LinkedIn. And in this role, Chris partners with Fortune 500 companies to incorporate modern sales tactics with their go-to-market customer acquisition strategy through LinkedIn. Chris is a graduate of Howard University, where he earns his bachelor's degree in business administration with a concentration in supply chain management. He also earned his master's in business administration from Syracuse University. So the opportunity to speak with students about the power of networking and career development is something that Chris is extremely passionate about. He has been able to leverage the advice of his peers, his mentors, and his mentees while navigating his own career journey and loves to share that knowledge. He truly believes that LinkedIn is a platform that allows individuals to connect, network, and learn without boundaries. And all of us, whatever our education level or our career path, we're really fortunate to have his advice today. So before I turn it to Chris, I want to remind the mentees to stay on for 15 minutes after so we can talk about what your presentations are going to look like on June 1st and June 2nd. All right, Chris, the floor is yours.
Perfect. Ebony, appreciate it. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Good to meet you all virtually. I'm calling in from Houston, Texas. So I see a lot of people from all over the place, Nashville, New York, LA. So this will be a lot of fun. This presentation is going to talk about how to leverage LinkedIn, regardless of your age, right? Whether you're in high school, whether you're in college, this platform can be used for everybody effectively. So I'm going to go through a few slides. As everybody knows, I'm not a big person in the slides, so I'm trying to get through these pretty quickly. I'd rather have dialogue, right? So you guys asking me questions as I go through this presentation, things like that, completely fine. All right, so let me just jump right into it so we don't waste any time. Let me share my screen, make sure this works. Make it a little bigger. Hopefully, Ebony, you can see that. Thumbs up. Perfect. All right, so as Ebony said, I'm a relationship manager at LinkedIn, have been here since 2018. I use LinkedIn to get this job, right? I use my network to get into LinkedIn. It was a friend from college who worked here, and she put me in touch with the recruiter, and I got in touch with the hiring manager, and here I am today. So the power of networking, doesn't have to be like a formal relationship. It doesn't have to be your mentor. It doesn't have to be like your boss. It can be just your friend. You don't know who knows who, and that's what LinkedIn is super powerful about. So we'll go through a few things. This is just a quick agenda for the presentation, like why LinkedIn is important. We're going to spend a good amount of time on number 2 about your profile. All right, your profile is truly your story. It's your elevator pitch on the internet. So we'll talk through how to make an effective profile on LinkedIn. 3 and 4 talk about the value of networking and how to do job searching on LinkedIn. And then Q&A, I know we have that toward the end of the presentation, so we'll get that done at some point as well. All right, so first, just from a company standpoint, this is the LinkedIn vision. All right, this is what all employees, what we kind of strive toward. We come to work every single day, and it's to create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. What that means is, everyone that is working, a working professional, whether you work in corporate America or whether you work in a grocery store, right? We want to make sure we're giving you opportunity to reach your career goals. And that's through networking, that's through connections, that's through LinkedIn. So that's what we call our true north vision as a company, what we strive toward. Here are some quick stats about LinkedIn. I went through this kind of quickly. There are 830 million members worldwide on LinkedIn. We're adding about 2 members per second. So just think about that. Like, as we sit through this conversation, people are just getting LinkedIn every single day, every single moment. So the network just continues to grow. All right, there's 14 million jobs posted on LinkedIn right now. 39,000 skills, right? Skills meaning like, are you proficient in Excel? Are you good at presentations? Are you good at coding? Whatever it might be, like all these skills that we kind of combine and take notice of on LinkedIn. 120,000 plus schools, right? We include high schools on LinkedIn. I actually just added my own high school to my profile last week, as a matter of fact. So high school, colleges, grad schools, that's all available to you on LinkedIn to put in your profile. All right. Now, we'll go through all these slides, but one thing I want you all to remember is these 3 things about like how to get the most out of LinkedIn, right? You're investing your time into developing a profile. So one thing I want to make sure you all do is create a strong profile page, right? And that's what we'll spend a lot of time doing that. Number 2 is, make sure you're leveraging your network, but you're also building your network, right? No matter how old you are, no matter how young you are, your network is pretty big without you even thinking about it. Family members, friends, people you go to church with, anything like that, that is your network. Be able to tap into that at any point in time, right? And number 3 is identifying employment opportunities, right? Being able to find jobs or even just find career paths. In my bio, right, I worked in supply chain for a number of years and wanted to pivot my career just randomly. I was able to just find someone to connect with, to learn about a job at LinkedIn, sales, and how I can put myself in position to get a job at this company. So we'll just kind of remember these 3 things as we go through our presentation today. All right, so your profile, your story. All right, we're gonna go through some steps. No need to take notes. I'm gonna send you all these slides after the fact, so you'll be able to reference this later. But this isn't so important. Your LinkedIn profile is not your resume, right? People often think, okay, I'm gonna take my resume and just slap it onto my LinkedIn profile. Your LinkedIn profile is truly your chance to tell your story, right? Whether it's your professional story, whether it's your volunteer story, whether it's your educational story, it's your story and how you position it and how you write it. So just think about things like, as you're putting together your profile, you want to make sure it's kind of like an open book. It's not speaking to one particular person or a particular employer, it's speaking to everybody, right? And I say everybody, your friend, your mother, your grandparents, potential employer, right? People want to learn about you relatively quickly. This is where your profile can help close that gap. Talk about your skills and your interests, right? Particularly if you're in high school. I remember when I was in high school, my first job was working as a bagger at a grocery store. All right. The way you can take that skill set as like a grocery store employee, hey, you manage some type of process, right? I manage the bagging process for a high volume grocery store, right? That's a skill set that is transferable somewhere else, right? But that's something you can kind of explain on your LinkedIn profile to somebody. And then also this last part, recommendations and endorsements, right? That's something people can give to you. If you've had a mentor that says, hey, he or she's a super hard worker, very diligent, that's something that will go in your profile that other people can see, right? That's a great thing you can leverage. Now, when you make your profile, step 1, it's going to seem very simple. Have a picture, right? And it doesn't need to be a super professional picture. It doesn't need to be some like photographer. We all have smartphones. Your phones do a pretty good job of catching the lighting. Take a picture on your cell phone. Just make sure it's just a picture of yourself, right? You're smiling, you have a pretty good background. But the reason this is so important, as you can see here, is people get more connection requests on LinkedIn with a profile picture. People come to your page more often when they see your picture. So that's why it's so important to make sure you have a good picture of yourself, not a group picture, but of yourself. And definitely smile, right? You all want to kind of show your pearly whites and that you're a happy individual, right? Step 2, this is a new feature we just added about 1.5 years ago. The ability to record your name. All right, we want to make sure people pronounce your name properly. So if you download the mobile app of LinkedIn, you actually can record yourself saying your name in your profile. So when someone reaches out to you or someone calls you, they know how to pronounce your name properly, right? That's a cool feature that we just launched about 1.5 years ago. Number 3, add your pronouns, right? And this is optional, right? But the thing about LinkedIn as a company, we stress about people being their authentic self, right? So if you want to add your pronouns, you have the ability to do that. If you don't want to, you don't have to, but just know like we're trying to have an inclusive audience on the platform as well. Number 4, I have not done this myself personally. You actually can make a profile video, right? So you can make a 30-second video of yourself on your LinkedIn page, right? So kind of think about this as if I'll compare it to Instagram for right now. Someone comes to your page, they don't feel like scrolling through, they don't feel like reading about you. You can do a quick video about yourself, right? 30 seconds. People seem to like seeing that type of information. All right. Now, number 5, step adding your industry, right? And these are all the things you can build in your profile, right? You don't have to do this all in one swoop, right? Adding like, where do you work? What type of business, what type of work do you do? And as I mentioned, like in high school, I worked as a bagger in a grocery store. What's the industry for that? That's consumer services, right? I worked with customers coming in and out. So don't think because you may not have a professional job or you have a corporate job that you don't have an industry. Even your volunteer experience can be tied to an industry as well. And as we go through this, if there's anything that's confusing, feel free to ask me about it, right? Even if it's in your lens, like, hey, for me, Chris, it doesn't make sense. Like, what would you put if you were in my situation? All right, I'm gonna go through these other ones kind of quickly. Showing you're open to work. This is part of the job searching on LinkedIn. You actually can tell your LinkedIn network that you're open to a job, right? So you can see there's 2 options here. There's a banner that actually will show under your profile picture that says, I'm open to work, right? That means everyone on LinkedIn, when they come to your page, they're gonna see that banner. Or you have the option to say, hey, I'm open to work, but only tell recruiters this. I want everyone knowing that I'm looking for jobs. I want just recruiters to know I'm looking for jobs. I personally, it's up to your preference. I personally do just recruiters only, right? I'm a private person, I'm kind of shy. I don't want everyone just knowing like what my career goals are or what I'm trying to do. So I just have like recruiters know that I'm open to work. Now, this step is super important, your summary. All right, making a summary on LinkedIn. If you had to describe your career aspirations in 4 to 7 sentences, what would you say? And that's very tough, right? It took me a while to figure out, like, if I had to, describe what I've done in my past, what I'm doing currently, and where I want to go, in only 4 to 7 sentences, you want to say so much, but this is your chance to be very quick and to the point and capture someone's attention. All right. So what I did, right, for my own personal profile, worked in supply chain for a number of years, automotive. I'm from the South, ended up moving all over the place, and I've wound back in Texas, right? That kind of shows just my career path over the last 10 years. So your summary is like your elevator pitch. If you're not in the room with somebody, if someone comes to your page, what do you want them to know about you as an individual, right? This is truly your brand, right? LinkedIn is truly your brand without you being in the room to defend yourself, quite honestly. All right, your experiences, obviously work experience. You want to kind of walk people through what you've done in the workplace, and that can be professional or volunteer, right? I tell people this: volunteer is just as important. All right, these are transferable skills that go into the workplace. It shows leadership, it shows organization, things like that. So definitely add professional experience and volunteer experience to your profile. All right, we talked about skills. I won't belabor this much longer. Skills, recommendations, all good things that you can leverage on the LinkedIn platform as well. So I'm gonna jump into the next section, which is about building your professional network. All right, and I'm gonna caution everyone, it sounds great to connect with a lot of people on LinkedIn, but you don't wanna do that, right? You wanna be strategic about who is part of your network. If you go on LinkedIn, just add every single person, your network is not really worth anything because you don't know those individuals. All right. So that's why it's very important to build your network off of your existing connections and friends, and then maybe expand your network based off of where you want to go career-wise, or who of your friends know somebody else. All right. And I'll give you a quick graphic, right? So let's look at this individual here in the middle. She knows 3 people in her immediate network. Let's say this gentleman here is her uncle. This woman here is her former manager, and this was her roommate from college, right? So these are her direct connections that she knows immediately. But because she has LinkedIn, she can start to see, okay, who do they know, right? Beyond that network, right? So her uncle knows these 2 individuals, great. Her former boss knows these 2 individuals. So because she can see those interactions, she can leverage her network for introductions to him through this connection right here. That's why the networking part is so important, right? So that's why we call these like a first degree connection, right? These are first degree. She knows these individuals, by first name basis. And then these are friends of friends, right? And this is real life. I'm gonna give you, even Ebony, for example, I met Ebony through a coworker of mine, right? So Ebony technically was a second degree connection to me. I knew somebody here and Ebony knew that same person. That's how we got connected, right? So you never know who your friends might know, who your teachers might know, who your mentors might know. Be able to leverage each other's network to help each other out. All right. You just never know who in the future can assist with you in your career path. All right. And you can see like this is even grows even further. That's why LinkedIn is such a powerful tool, because friends of friends of friends of friends, we're all connected somehow. I guarantee you at some point, we all have mutual connections or mutual or common interests that bring us together somehow, some way. The world is not as big as it seems, particularly when you're using LinkedIn. All right. And one thing we tell people to do is, if you see someone that has a mutual friend, that's an easy way to connect with somebody, right? Here's an example, like message to invite somebody, say, hey, I saw we have a mutual connection. I want to pivot my career into what you're doing. Like, can we chat? Right? It gives you credibility, right? People don't like adding random people to their network. If I've never met you before, your picture just shows up, I'm probably a little bit leery to add you to my network. But if you have a common connection that helps bridge the gap for you, definitely leverage that. Definitely name drop. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, taking a step backwards is make sure you discover your existing connections, right? And I say existing connections, I'm talking about your family, old coworkers. The cool thing about LinkedIn is a lot of times we put our phone numbers to our profile. So you actually can sync up your phone to your page, and we'll say, hey, people from your contact list, here's the LinkedIn profile, right? We'll feed that to you. So this is probably where you want to first start, is like just understanding who within your personal network is on LinkedIn, and just make sure they're added to your profile. All right. And obviously you can search for connections too. This is where I tell people to be very careful. I had a friend that wanted to work at Nike, and what he decided to do was go to the Nike company page on LinkedIn and just add people at random, right? First things first, LinkedIn will flag that, right? We actually do monitor if you send a bunch of connection requests in a short amount of time, and we'll give you a warning and put your profile in suspension for a little bit. So we don't want you sending out mass connection requests, right? It does need to be super strategic about who you're going after, what's the common connection, if anything. Just don't do mass adding on LinkedIn. That is not what the purpose of the platform is. I'm going to reiterate, your network is your net worth, right? If you just add everybody, then you really don't know anybody. So just think about that as you're building your LinkedIn network. We kind of talked about this, so yeah, how to expand your network strategically. I won't belabor that, but in the last part, and we'll kind of go into the rapid fire, looking for jobs on LinkedIn. And a lot of times people change careers, people change what they want to do in life, and that's perfectly fine. One thing you can do on LinkedIn is, set up like, what are your career interests? What jobs might you be interested in? What companies are you interested in, right? See what people are doing in certain industries that might interest you and learn about that. So there's tons of ways to do that. And I'll share with you these slides about how to set your career interests. I don't want to make you go through all this stuff, memorize this, but these are just tools you can use to just understand what's in the job market, right? People say, I want to do marketing. Well, that's a very broad scope, right? What kind of marketing, right? Or I want to do sales. Okay, what kind of sales? Or I want to be an engineer. Like things like this, you want to start to figure out, hey, let's get more specific about what you want to do and what aligns with your career interests as well. All right. I know I just sped through a bunch of slides quickly, but I just hate going through slides and I like talking to you all. So that part is over. Hopefully no one fell asleep doing that. And we're still here. But I guess, Caroline, I will turn it back to you all in terms of like doing the rapid fire, or Ebony.
Yes. So I was messaging the students, the mentees, mentors about starting. So let's see. Hassan, would you like to go first? And Caroline, can you share the whiteboard?
Yeah, I'm happy to.
So what we're going to do is, this is going to be our workshop portion. So we're focusing on you and how you would describe your experience at Our Future is Science on LinkedIn, which could be used for your college application, your resume, or your CV. So while you are all in this program as either a mentee or a mentor, everyone has different backgrounds and experiences, and that in turn will make your experience unique from the next person. So the statements would not be the same. Thank you, Hassan.
I think I made mine too big. I don't know how to make it big.
Let's see.
Go ahead and put it in and I'll see if I can edit it, but make sure to put your name and everybody, when you ask a question, just like Hassan is, your camera needs to be on.
Hassan, where are you calling in from?
I'm calling in from Roanoke, Virginia.
Roanoke, Virginia. Okay.
Yeah, so I think I could do it, but the box is just super long. I'll click enter and see if that works. Can you see it on the thing?
Not yet.
I can just say it out loud if that's more helpful. So what I put here was, when I started my work as an OFIS mentor, I was glad for the chance to address the relationship between science and social justice with a group of like-minded peers across the country and also Guam. I didn't expect how much I would get in return, which is an honest statement. The community talks have connected me with just how, with diverse experts in environmental justice, health disparities, public health leaders, and more, all of whom challenge us to get engaged. Our mentees are creative, driven individuals who have taught me a lot through their capstone projects. I'm ending my time with OFIS much more confident in my own skills, with quite a few more contacts in my network, regardless of what career I choose to follow, which is more than a relief. I think, just like going off script a bit, like I really did enjoy a lot of social justice work I used to do in undergrad, but when I came to graduate school, I kind of sacrificed that for the sake of science. So this program showed me that I could actually do both. I could have both and it's not too much. And I found out I get a lot more out of that. Like I feel much better, and I think like this is a much better fit for me than what I've been trying to do, struggling in like half of myself for research and half of myself for some of these other things. So yeah, beyond the statement there, I think I've learned a lot and I've grown a lot too.
So on that last part of your statement, I would definitely include like in your blurb on LinkedIn, right? Because it kind of shows a transformation of yourself, like career development, right? You were able to kind of pivot in terms of like what you thought, what you enjoy. I love the statement about, you know, like the skills you learn with the mentees, but even think another level of like, what skills exactly did you learn? Like, what did you take from being a mentor? Because think about this, if I'm a employer, I'm a recruiter, I want to know like what transferable skills can be used in the workplace potentially, right? And that can be a multitude of things, right? You know, that can be leadership, that can be organizing, it can be encouragement, right? A lot of managers at companies are hired as managers because they can inspire other people, right? As a mentor, you're essentially inspiring like your mentee, right? You're trying to help coach them along. But at the same time, you mentioned like you've learned from your own mentees as well, which I think is super important, that you're open to feedback. So things like that, it shows that when you're coachable, you have transferable skills, and you're not afraid to pivot, right? I think a lot of times people in the workforce, they're set in their ways about, this is what I want to do. I'm going to do it for 15, 20 years. But, you know, I did the same thing, right? I worked in the company for 8 years and said, nope, I want something different. And I pivoted. And I think that's something that just shows your ability to adapt rather quickly. But yeah, that last part you mentioned, I don't know if that was in your blurb, but you should definitely add that.
I'll put it in my blurb from now on.
I will say, I didn't see it written out, so I'm trying to go off memory right now. When you're writing this, if it's going to be on LinkedIn, think about if you're scrolling on, I'm going to say TikTok, right? You read things for you look at a video for maybe 30 seconds. If someone's reading something on LinkedIn, you probably have about 30 seconds for them to read it. So try to condense what's really important to relate to somebody in that time frame. And 30 seconds is typically like 4 to 7 sentences for the most part on LinkedIn.
Okay, I'm gonna try and do that now.
Thank you, Hassan.
Thank you.
Benay, are you able to?
Yeah, can you all see what I put on the whiteboard?
Oh, yes. Let me move it up. Is this it?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. I see it.
I'll just make it a little bigger. Oh. Now, here we go. All right. Does everyone see it?
Yep.
You want to read it out loud? I think,
Oh,
Renee,
sure.
that would be great.
So as an OFIS mentor, I connected with high school students to assist with developing capstone projects at the intersection of science and social justice. One project involved incorporating materials science as part of the solution to fast fashion and waste. Another project sought to communicate the housing and associated health inequities in New York public housing. Through conversations with my mentees, I learned the importance of communicating complex technical ideas in an accessible way, and the value of connecting research to a student's lived experience. This experience helped me see real ways to connect my passion for social justice and my background as an engineer, while developing leadership and communication skills that can be leveraged in future roles.
Wow, very well written. You must have been tipped off on like how to construct this, because this is really well written. Let me just skim through it really quick just to get a quick glance one more time. But I love that you, at the end, you kind of brought it back to like your communication skills, your leadership skills. That's super important. I think everyone should follow this in general. Like that last sentence or that last phrase, like that's the last thing someone's going to read, right? So what's the last impression you're going to give somebody? So for this one, you kind of brought it back full circle. Like I have an engineering background, but I was able to develop leadership and communication skills for future roles. Like I love that. One thing, and kind of coming back to like kind of Hassan, like you try to, it's tough to shorten it. I'm trying to see where we can combine sentences together or just maybe make it a little bit more condensed. Not to take away from all the work that you've done, right? We want to make sure we highlight everything you've done. We want to make sure it's somewhat succinct, where someone doesn't just gloss over it and they miss like some good parts. You know, I'm looking at,
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was the one I'm looking at, like the project, that area you talk about the projects, like the projects. So you talk about 2 projects. I almost combine that into like one sentence, right? So multiple projects, one incorporating X, Y, and Z, and the other doing X, Y, and Z, period, right? Gets right to the point. Try to like eliminate, I call it fluff, and it's not fluff here, so don't take that like in like a negative sense, but it's just getting kind of direct to the reader. But what were you going to say before I rudely interrupted you?
No, you're fine. I was just saying I could probably combine the last 2 sentences in some way, but.
Yeah, I honestly, the last sentence, I love your last sentence personally. I think it's where it starts with this experience helped me see ways to connect my passion for social justice and background as an engineer. I think that is a powerful statement because it speaks to you as an individual, right? It speaks to your personality. And that's why LinkedIn is so important because yes, you can talk about your experience professionally and volunteer, but this is your chance to connect with someone like on a more personal level. That's not face to face. So that last sentence is, I think, phenomenal. I would just try to condense maybe a couple of the other ones, like combine them together.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And where are you calling from? Sorry, I didn't get where are you calling from?
I'm in LA.
LA. Ooh, sunny
Yeah.
LA. Okay.
It's kind of cloudy right now, but yeah, usually.
Nice. Well, great to meet you. Thanks for joining tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Benet. And now we have one of our mentees, Tatiana.
Hello.
Hello, Tatiana.
Hi.
Are you able to put it on the whiteboard or are you going to read it for us?
If I send it in the chat, is it possible for it to appear on the whiteboard? Because I don't think I have the link to it.
All right, try it. And let me see if I can copy and paste it. Thank you.
Tatiana, where are you calling from? I'm going to ask that question to everybody, so just know it's coming.
I'm calling from New York City,
New York.
specifically Harlem.
Harlem. Okay, I used to live in Harlem. I used to live on the east side. What part of Harlem do you live in?
On the east side as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just left. So I guess I left New York last summer to move down here to Texas. And it's been quite a change. I'll say that it's been in good and bad ways, but it's been a change. But I do miss New York sometimes.
No, can you read it? I'm having problems with copying and pasting it on a whiteboard.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Also, can you put it in the chat so it's easy enough for Chris to read?
Okay. Sorry, it's kind of bunched up.
Oh, that's fine. No worries. Go for it.
Okay, so hi. This experience at Our Future is Science is a program I will never forget. It is nothing like any other program I took part in this year. This program is an excellent transformative program. The program educates young future leaders about science and its connection to social justice. I've learned so much science related, more than just surface level topics in this program. And for a resume, I would include that Our Future in Science is amazing for preparation to become a leader for the next generation of scientists. It has consistent meetings with skilled mentors to get valuable feedback and gain knowledge. And I will also say that it enhances public speaking and collaboration skills.
Let me ask you a question, Tatiana. What attracted you to the program? Like, what made you want to do the program?
I would say the fact that it combined science and social justice, because those are two topics that I'm very passionate about. Okay,
what you just said is you should include that, right? That should almost be like your first statement. One, I want to show initiative, like I did this program for X, Y, and Z reason, right? I took the initiative to find this program because it connects something that I'm passionate about, right? So I would start with that. And try to avoid having like their program, right? You've already said that at the beginning. So you can kind of just like take that out and just start saying, this was a transformative program that educated future leaders about science and the connection to social justice. And I've learned so much. And maybe give an example, like what have you learned, or what skill set did you acquire from this? Give a little bit more detail, but you have like the workings of a great statement. I think like you're right on track. But I do want you to show like you took the initiative to do this program, and you all did, right? Everyone did, mentors and mentees. So be proud of that, right? That's a skill set. That's a trait that not everyone has. Some people are very passive and they don't do these types of programs. So show that you took the initiative to find this based on, you know, your passions and your desires. Now the last part, like the resume, this is what you would put on your resume, just if I'm reading that correctly. Okay. I like that. When you say consistent, how many meetings? Let's put a time. So one thing you want to do in a resume is have quantifiable and qualitative points, right? So you want to have numbers like, hey, if you met weekly or you met for a period of 6 months, right? How long was the program? Because that shows commitment, right? You didn't do it just for 2 weekends. You didn't do it for just a week. You did this for like a period of time. So include that saying, hey, we had meetings for over X amount of period with mentors, and we met for an hour or whatever for each meeting, whatever that might be. And you talk about how you enhance your public speaking and collaboration skills. If you can give an example of how that occurred, like, you know, give some examples, that'd be nice too. But good, I think it's good. Like I said, you have the workings of a great blurb for LinkedIn and for your resume. But for everyone on your resume, I think it's a quick point is quantifiable and qualitative bullet points is super helpful to a recruiter to kind of justify, hey, what's your skill set and what's the so what behind it, right? You did X, Y, and Z, but what was the end result?
Thank you.
Cool, thank you for sharing that.
All right, so even though we only had 3 and the focus was on those 3, I'm sure we all benefited from this. So now let's do the rapid fire response. So this is an opportunity for more of you to receive Chris's feedback, right? So we're not gonna rush through the responses that you'll be receiving. First impressions. So you can go ahead and put them in the chat, right? We wanna focus on when people review a resume experience that they will read it quickly and move on to the next. So you can, whoever wants to volunteer, you can put it in the chat and then also read it out loud. Do we have any volunteers? Hassan, Benet, and Tatiana, yours were very good. Thank you.
Excellent.
Any mentees?
This is an opportunity to get some great feedback and insight. And I'm sure you've seen, you know, what those before you all shared and how beneficial that feedback was to them. We encourage you to share.
I see a question that someone just put in, Paloma, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. If we take one thing away from what I've said today, if you took one thing from what you said, what would you say? If there's one thing I'd leave you all with today, first impressions matter. They truly do. And how you show up in person or even virtually, people don't forget about that. So, you know, if you do make a LinkedIn profile, just know, like, hey, that's your one chance in front of somebody. Like, put your best foot forward. If you're making your resume, someone's going to read that quickly, right? Make sure you put your best foot forward. So just always, you know, put your best effort at all times in front of people. You never know who's looking at you.
Ray also has a great question. Ray, do you want to unmute and ask? That would be great.
Yeah, hi. So when I'm speaking to people I don't know, I don't want to call it stiff. It's just sort of like this, I guess, over exaggerated, not wanting to offend or say the wrong thing. In a way it answers my question, but I just kind of want to know your opinion on like where that line between polite and stiff is, if that makes sense.
So give me an example of what's stiff. What do you consider stiff?
I don't know, just like, it's really hard to explain because it's one of those things, those like dynamics where you have to like experience it,
Mhm.
kind of, just like sort of only speaking when spoken to and things like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So it's, you kind of have to read the room. I say that you read the audience. Can you be too polite or too stiff? I mean, I'm a proponent of be yourself, be your authentic self, right? At all times, you know, and how you choose to show up in one situation versus another situation doesn't mean you're being fake, stiff, polite. Like you chose, like, hey, in this setting, I'm gonna like act this way, whatever it might be. So I don't think you can be too stiff. I think that's probably like a mental block in your head that you're trying to assimilate to someone else's needs, but focus on yourself, right? Like be your authentic self. I'll tell you all this, right? I have tattoos, right? I have tattoos over corporate America. I don't hide my tattoos. That's who I am, right? I'm proud of it. Like I wouldn't have got them if I didn't like want people to see them, right? If you're gonna judge me off of just that, then quite honestly, like you don't need to have a connection. You know what I mean? Like I'm that confident in myself and my ability as an individual that I can contribute to anyone's company or any job, that my appearance shouldn't deter you from that. So hopefully it answers your question in a roundabout way, but let me know if I didn't answer your question.
Yeah, thank you.
We have a couple questions in the chat. I'm gonna go with Labake first because she had been private messaging me. And so how do you build a network when you have multiple interests and aren't sure what you want your next endeavor to be?
That's a great question. So what I would do is, and you can change interest, right? You don't have to be tied to one interest forever. Like that is okay. I would seek out people that have jobs or have a career path that interests you, and ask about it, like learn about like how they got to that point in their career. Because I guarantee you, they probably had a couple of missteps where they had interest in something and then they got here somehow, right? I didn't get into tech immediately after college, right? I went to automotive for a while and got here eventually. So what I would say is that you reach out to a network and just kind of learn about those interests and if they align to yours. But don't feel like you need to pick one interest and like stick to that. Like you can pivot, absolutely. What I will say is, don't go out and just add 1,000 people to your network to try to figure it out. Like that's not value add either. But it's okay to kind of put feelers out and just understand those different interests, and if it truly aligns to what you want to do in the future.
Thank you. Let's see, we have a question or a statement rather, from Ayulaine. The OFIS, or did you want to read it versus me reading it? Sorry.
No, can you read it for her? Thank
Okay.
you.
The OFIS program was both a fun and knowledgeable experience. I was up to date with national news related to STEM and social justice and connected with the younger generation of scientists. I enjoyed getting to know my mentees on a personal and professional level, learning about their scientific interests and passions. This program has made me hopeful for the future because I know the grit and determination of our leaders to come. Very nice.
That's a strong statement. Is that in the chat? I'm trying to find the.
Yeah, it's in the chat.
It's from me. It says Ebony from
Oh,
Elaine.
yeah, okay. It came, oh, okay. I'm like, oh.
846.
Okay, I see it. Yeah. Oh. I'm actually kind of like, wow, that's really good. I have to come back to that one in a second. That's a good one.
All right. So we have a question from Lonnie. How would you recommend formulating cold emails when you are trying to reach out to a professional that you may not have connections on LinkedIn with?
Great question. Think about, all right, one thing I've learned is people love flattery, right? If you can convey to them that you've identified their career path as a goal of yours or something that interests you, put that in the message, right? Like, hey, like how you got to your point really caught my attention. I'm young in my career and I'm really trying to figure it out. I'd love to pick your brain for a few minutes or just learn from you. People enjoy giving knowledge. I think the general public is open to helping others, the next generation. So I lead with that, right? Lead with the fact that you've identified them as someone that has piqued your interest based on their career path. And typically that's people respond to that relatively quickly.
All right. We have a couple good ones coming up. So McKay, she has a statement. I joined OFIS to expand the paths I could use to find the intersection between social justice and science. As a mentor, I was able to facilitate 2 high school students through the scientific process while they worked on a capstone project addressing an issue in their community that could be solved by science and social justice. I was inspired by mentors and mentees around the US through weekly and monthly meetings. This inspiration allowed me to use my new leadership skills to facilitate JEDI discussions in my other scientific graduate student and instructor positions.
That's a great, let me ask you, is it JEDI discussions or that the acronym for something that it's an acronym?
Yeah, it's justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion.
Okay, I haven't heard that one. I've heard a lot of combinations.
So I love that. Just make sure you put that in like that acronym, right? Because the common person may not know that, and just educate them just so they know. But that is a strong statement, okay. That is, you inspired me at this point. As a mentor, I think it'll facilitate. I love the like, and this is a good example of like, as a mentor, you did X, Y, and Z, right? It shows direct impact. And that goes for mentors and mentees, right? Like, you did this program, what's the so what behind it? What did it result in, right? What tangible thing can be taken away from your time spent here? I think you did a great job of doing that. So yeah, anytime anyone uses an acronym, this is for everybody, just put the acronym, like spell it out like initially, if it's not like a common one or something like that, just so everyone is familiar with it.
And what I like about this is that she showed how she's applying it, at the end, applying those learnings that she was able to get.
Yeah.
This is a good one too. Have you seen negative outlooks of having natural hair or other things like that in the corporate world? And do you think it's getting better or worse? I
would tell you 10 years ago, absolutely not. It was a different time, and I'm sure even beyond that, before my professional career. I actually just cut my hair like a month and a half ago. I had my hair grown out through COVID. And it was a test for myself of just me being like my authentic self. So you know what? I'm gonna grow my hair out. I'm established in my career. I'm confident in my ability. But I'll be honest, that's not every employer, right? Not every employer is that, I'll call it progressive or whatever you want to say. I want to figure out the best way to answer this question. It's tough, right? The world's not perfect. People still judge in this world. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that they don't. But if you're confident in yourself, and the job doesn't allow you to bring your authentic self, then think about, is that the job I want to do? I think our generation is different than like what our parents were, quite honestly, where we don't have to just settle for a job, right? We don't, you have options. And your job is it's a reflection of who you are as an individual too, right? Like if it aligns to your values, things like that, that's important. I tell people this, money's great, like money will come, but at the end of the day, like you need to, like inside, like your soul needs to be happy with what you're doing. And that can change every couple of years. That's fine. People change, people pivot, like that's fine. But if you don't feel like you're in a place where you can be like your true self as much as you can, that may not be the place for you. I'll also sit here and tell you, like, to be a Black man in corporate America, like I'm the minority, obviously, right? So I'm never in a room with multiple Black men. It's very rare, right? So I'm always cautious of like how I appear. And that's going to go on for a lifetime, right? That's not changing overnight. Will it get better? I hope it does get better. I hope we continue to see Black and brown people get more opportunities for jobs and things like that in higher positions. But I do have that self-awareness that like I'm typically the only person of color in a room, and how I show up will hopefully help the next person, get to the same room with me. So I know I'm probably babbling at this point, but hopefully that answers the question.
Okay. Excellent. There's two more questions that I do want to read. After you make a connection, how do you maintain the relationship to that connection? And at what point could you use that newfound connection for your own interest? And so the one from Gianna up under it kind of speaks to that, where she's asking about, are there any tips to stay consistent with connections and how often you should check in?
Yeah, perfect. So the quick and easy way is when people are on LinkedIn, you'll see a news feed of people like posting things. It might be posting an article, or they might comment on someone's page, whatever it might be. You can like someone's post, similar to like Instagram or Facebook, right? Or someone makes a post, you can just like it. That's engagement, because they get notified saying so-and-so person liked your post, right? That's showing them that you're engaged with what they're putting out on LinkedIn. So I follow Kevin Durant. He's a basketball player, right, for the Brooklyn Nets. He doesn't know me. He doesn't know I follow him, right? But I can like his post and he'll see like, okay, he won't see this. But if he was a normal person, he'd say, Chris Green liked your post, right? That's engagement. And maybe he posts something that is of interest to me, and I leave a comment, or I send him a message saying, hey, I liked your post. Love to chat more about that, right? That's a natural way of staying in touch with somebody, versus connect with them on Monday and 6 months from now you reach out to them saying, hey, we connected 6 months ago, I want to talk now. That's inauthentic, right? You want to kind of maintain some legitimate, I call it non-awkward connectionness with people. So that's just engaging with them on the platform through posts and commenting on stuff like that.
All right, and so we have a final statement I do want to read. I think this can resonate with everyone, and it's from Lonnie. Sometimes you have to be the change. I chose to wear my natural hair to an academic conference this week. Be the change you want to see in your field.
Lonnie, amen to that. I think it's so important. I think I remember leaving college being almost taught like to assimilate, right? And I think it was just at that time frame that that's just how it was to succeed in corporate America. But we're in a different place, and I think the time is now to like, hey, be the change you want to see. Absolutely. And if they don't accept it, cool. Move on to the next one. Life will go on, but you yourself, like, be yourself 24/7, 365, always.
Chris, thank you so much. Thank you to our mentors and our mentees for being prepared. And we are so grateful to you, Chris, for sharing your wisdom with all of us. And this advice will benefit us all in a number of ways. So we appreciate you spending time with us today. I have my LinkedIn profile out while you were talking. Making sure it's top notch. So I was workshopping with all of you. Okay, so thank you so much. Mentees, please stay on. And mentors, we will see you soon. Have a great night, everyone.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.